Gonna be honest, video game consoles are a novelty I personally think have worn off a bit. There was an era where each console had their own exclusives which were appealing to consumers. Xbox had their Halos, while PlayStation had their God of Wars. However, nowadays, newer titles by Xbox and PlayStation are accessible on PC. Xbox has them cross-release along with the Xbox Series X/S versions of their games day one on Game Pass and Steam. PlayStation, on the other hand, has their games be timed exclusives on the PS5 a year or a few months later. Speaking of the PS5, the Pro version of the console is hella expensive. You even have to buy the disc drive and a stand for it separately. So yeah, the PS5 is sold as a digitally only console, a trend that Xbox has followed too as a way to cut costs for the consumer. These gaming companies clearly want to kill disc drives on consoles, and that's scary. Disc drives are a thing that makes consoles fun. Physical media is great because you get to own the games yourself rather than have a license to play the game digitally and not have ownership. The high price of disc consoles compared to the digital speaks volumes, with these companies now promoting the idea that physical media is now a luxury. The growing fear I have is that consoles like the PS5 Pro charging for a disc drive is that physical games will die out. Another gripe I have with modern gaming is that nowadays, games on disc feel like a key to prove ownership, since you need to wait for the game to download off the disc or sometimes even online to your console. The era of plug and play is over for the most part, unless you count Nintendo. The Nintendo Switch has cartridges, which is a cool throwback to the older era of gaming. They also have exclusives still. The fact it is portable and can be used on a TV appealed to me way more than the consoles of that time, with that ease of use. However, as time went by, games that weren't made by Nintendo ended up getting lazy ports, as some companies did not want to take the time to make their games work on a cartridge or optimize to be a small digital download. An example of a lazy use of a cartridge is the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, which has a few games on the cartridge with the rest being downloaded to the Switch system. I know Capcom was very notorious with this too, with the Mega Man collections being incomplete, with one set of games being on the cartridge and the other set of games being a digital download. As far as not optimizing games which would be easy to run, Square Enix sold a cloud version of the Kingdom Hearts games, which boggles my mind as the first collection is full of PS2 and PSP games which could definitely run on a Switch. Atlus got the Persona games, including 5 Royal, a PS4 game on the Switch, to run very smoothly. Square has no excuse. Another issue that the Switch has is that its graphics chip is outdated, and ports of modern games sometimes are inferior versions, like the infamous Mortal Kombat 1 port, which costed $69.99 at launch, by the way. Don't you just love modern game prices? While the Switch does, as the rumors say, have a more powerful successor on the way, I honestly think this was too little too late, as I found a more powerful device that has replaced it as my go-to handheld. Enter the Steam Deck, a handheld PC made by Valve that plays a majority of your Steam library. When I was away from home, I was frustrated I could not play my complete Steam library on my laptop, which led to me biting the bullet and buying a refurbished 512GB model. It has a graphics chip that is newer than the one the Switch has, and 16GB of RAM, like most PCs and current-gen consoles. Meanwhile, the Switch has a measly 4GB of RAM. No wonder it struggles to run some games. It has half the RAM of its last-gen competitors, like the PS4 and Xbox One as well. The appeal of the Steam Deck for me is that since it's a PC, you can lower graphics settings if necessary, which allows you to play modern games. Unlike the Switch, Switch, you can play Kingdom Hearts on it portably. This device has been great as I was able to play powerful games like Spider-Man Remastered away from home. To be honest though, I've mostly been using the Steam Deck to play older titles and indie games as newer ones drain battery. As far as old games go, I've been playing Arkham Asylum, and as far as indie games go, I've been playing Stardew Valley. I got an LCD Steam Deck rather than an OLED, which has a better screen, better battery, and is slightly more powerful. However, I still love the one I got. Another thing I like about the Steam Deck is the customization. Unlike Nintendo, who is very against people modding their Switches, Valve makes it easy for the owners of the Steam Deck to do whatever they want with it. The last time I had fun tinkering with the device was when I hacked my 2DS. However, here you can modify the Steam Deck without any hacks required. With Decky, you can download plugins that make the Steam Deck a lot cooler than the stock OS. My favorite plugin is the one that gives you custom boot screens. You can find Decky online through desktop mode. Desktop mode is the way you can play more games than the Steam library. The Linux Discovery Store is a great way to find a lot of cool apps. For example, you can use Heroic Launcher from the Discover Store to play your Epic Games library, which is very easy to set up. And as far as emulation goes, you can get EmuDeck to play retro console games. Both these applications are able to easily transfer your Epic Games Store games and ROMs to your Steam library with custom artwork and everything. The Steam Deck is great since it gives owners a console experience without the headaches modern consoles cause. Sure, it has no cartridge slot or disk drive, meaning you will need to download games on it. Still, the Steam Store has bargains on digital games constantly and is a way better storefront that gives consumers a variety of games rather than being limited to Sony or Microsoft titles. The Steam Deck allows you to play both, and I love that. I can play Spider-Man on my TV without buying a PS4 or PS5, and I love that. While the Steam Deck does have its downsides, like online on major games not working since anti-cheat detects Linux, it still beats the competition. You don't need to pay an online subscription to play with friends, just like on PC. I like multiplayer games, but I have my PC for that. Also, since the Steam Deck lacks Windows out of the box, Game Pass does not work. There's a workaround for cloud streaming on Game Pass that includes Fortnite, but you cannot download any games. Lately, I've been using my Steam Deck mostly for single player games. It has way more games that consoles have nowadays, a lot of which are still on the Steam Store that companies did not bother porting over to Xbox Series consoles or PS5. This includes Arkham Origins, which did not get ported along with the other 3 games in the Arkham series. Since it is a PC, you can also emulate retro games, and there are even workarounds to play delisted Steam games by getting the files for them and adding them as a non-Steam game. I never had a console as a kid till high school, so this device has made me be able to play games on Steam and emulate retro titles that I never got to experience growing up. This includes Nintendo games, which I cannot show since the Nintendo ninjas will go after me.
Hello there, Shade X.
Hello, Mario.
If you talk about emulating further, I'm here to give you a free Nintendo Cease and Desist Classic.
Let me clarify, retro titles I totally own and spend an outrageous amount of money on that I totally bought, yeah. I just seem to have misplaced them, but I am totally bankrupt now for buying a single legitimate copy of Pokemon Emerald.
You'll be even more bankrupt if I find out you found those ROMs elsewhere.
Shouldn't you be in court trying to start a precedent that nobody can take inspiration from your games?
Oh yeah, time to go. Power Wars developers will be paying us for life. Yahoo!
Overall, consoles can be very limiting nowadays, and first-party titles are not as interesting. Like Concord, pour out some hot sauce for our fallen green alien brother. This game, which shares the name with a type of grape juice, was a massive failure, and it is one less game on the PS5. Nintendo is making a new Switch with more power, and while I will probably get one if a new Smash comes out if friends want to play games with me, I don't absolutely need it. I greatly prefer my Steam Deck. It is really great to hold, and my Switch feels more like a toy now. It's so small compared to the deck. The Steam Deck has become my most used handheld as of late, to the point they ended up giving my Game Boy Advance and DSi to an IRL friend. This is because retro gaming can be quite expensive, with vendors deciding the price of older games, which is why I prefer gaming on my Steam Deck. Screw the PS5 Pro, just get a Steam Deck. This has been ShadeX, and I hope you all feel nothing but good vibes.